address several of the queries that you may have today. First, I'd like to introduce our distinguished panel members to you. Mayank, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. This is Mayank Anand here. I'm the Global Vice President for Thermo Fisher Scientific, heading the Integrated Data Science Group, managing data management, biostats programming, centralized monitoring, innovation, and systems. Looking forward for today's conversation as AI is very close to my heart, and I feel the landscape is changing and this conversation is happening at the right time.
Excellent. Thank you, Mayank. Aniruddha?
Hi, I'm Dr. Anirudh Pote. I am Assistant General Manager at Serum Institute of India. I look after the clinical development of several vaccines and infectious maps. Looking forward for today's sessions on AI and clinical trials. Thank you.
Thank you, Aniruddha. And I am Manju Shanabag, your host today. I lead go-to-market and customer excellence in Veridix, the AI and technology arm of the MS Group. Um, some say AI is the new petrol and it'll change the world in ways that we have not seen before. I'm pretty sure it's already doing that. We have AI on our phones, we have it on our computers, at the doctor's office, in our banks, in the cars that we drive, in the advertisements that we see and hear as well. Many of us witnessed AI's potential firsthand during the COVID 19 outbreak. AI powered models helped bring in new medicine much more quickly than we've seen before. Uh, they enabled researchers to analyze vast amounts of epidemiological data, supported vaccine and therapeutic developments, disease surveillance, assisted the healthcare system in predicting outbreaks, and ensuring that the right resource needs were provided. What traditionally would have taken years to do, it was accelerated through a combination of scientific expertise, data, advanced AI and analytics, as well as a willpower in the political landscape to make sure that the right support and resources were provided to the researchers. This clearly demonstrated the power of AI and what AI can do to address global health challenges. I'm pretty sure many of you will agree with that. Today, from discovering new medicines and treatments to identifying hidden heart diseases by analyzing ECGs, AI is playing an important role in our industry. And I'm pretty sure it's just going to continue to get better and better. And today's discussion will focus primarily around that, as well as what sort of an impact AI is having in our highly regulated industry. So, Mayank, I'd like to understand your views on a particularly interesting question. Uh, what is the biggest misconception organizations have about implementing AI today? And what should leaders understand before embarking into large scale AI initiatives?
So I think so. The biggest misconcept about AI strategy is that everyone feels that AI will come and solve all the problems. I think so. We have to stop thinking like that. AI is an enabler. Use it as an enabler. In a lot of organizations, traditionally, if you see, we are struggling with data foundation, we are struggling with pipeline development, we are struggling with right processes and efficient processes, and obviously upskilling of people. AI is enabler in all these categories, but it is not the solution to solving it just by implementing AI. AI strategy should always come with a proper process engineering, should come with along with integration of roles, consideration of process steps we are doing it, and obviously different data modeling we want to use across the board and build a data foundation strong with it. So any organization who wants to develop a right AI strategy first should stop thinking in that way that AI will solve all the problem, bring all the elements together. Second piece is that everyone feels that just by establishing right AI partnerships across the globe will solve the problem. I don't think so that's going to happen. Every right AI strategy which is developing across the world should also have a very clear ROI, what we are developing and what we're trying to solve. And not everything should go in one go into the AI strategy. I'm a witness of this since 2017. I'm seeing these strategies which were very slowly growing up, and after 2022, 2023, it became a talk of the town, to be honest. But if you look into these strategies, the biggest problem was we picked up areas where we want to influence AI without understanding the ROI for that. Now you have an agent which costs you millions of dollars, for example, to replace something which is not even a million of cost for you. Will the enterprise accept it? Will the enterprise will go it? So it's very important that we first build a business case for an AI before going and developing it. And in my opinion, not every organization should embark in developing AIs. What they should embark in that, what is the right partnership to put in place? Do you really need to build it, or you can go to a partner ecosystem where you have it and you build from that to see what your requirements looks like. So that's my view on it at a very high level. I'm sure there are more operational nitty-gritties and complexities to that, but I think so if we can sort that at a high level, these things, it will be easy to move forward.
Understood, understood, and thank you for that comment. Just a quick follow-up, right? Different organizations obviously have various different needs from a CRO perspective as well as from a sponsor perspective. You've been on both sides of the coin, and do you see any difference in your experience in terms of how each side may be addressing it slightly differently?
Yeah, see, with the pharma companies, the advantage is you have one process, one team, and one ecosystem to influence versus a CRO which works across 200, 300 customers, every customer having a different approach towards the same way of doing clinical study, correct? So the way of doing clinical study written by FDA, EMA, and everything is same, but our approach is slightly different, and which is the uniqueness of organization. So what I feel that if when I was part of this pharma side of the organizations, it was slightly easier for me to implement a strategy which is targeting one way of working within that organization. When you work in a CRO, you have to be very agile and flexible because you may have a customer like a small biotech with just one study, one molecule to work in versus a large pharma with hundreds of studies. The data foundation problems are very different from a small biotech to a large pharma company. The AI scale up is very different, correct? I can develop an amazing agent which is implemented when there is a mass of studies. And if I implement the same agent on a study which has only 6 patients with some 10 visits and running only for 1.5 year, the approach has to be very different, correct? So it totally for us it is as a CRO, it's very important to understand the customer need from the scaling up perspective, data foundation perspective, integration perspective, data flow, different operational concept, and obviously scientific uniqueness of that product, and then put it. Versus as a farmer, I know my portfolio. I don't have to deviate. If I set the direction, actually I can walk in that direction for certain period and then change the strategy. But for CROs, the strategy can change after every fifth customer we deal with it because the requirement and the and foundation of building those may be very different from each other and maturity curve.
Understood. I think that's very well said. So I'll pivot to Aniruddha for your views on this one as well, but also around some misconceptions and concerns that may be there, right? Serum has been a pioneer in clinical research in India, bringing in new treatments and new molecules to the market for several years now. There could be an ongoing concern that AI may replace some of the certain roles in clinical research and in clinical development as well. How do you see this relationship between AI and clinical teams evolving in the next few years, as well as what may be the certain tasks that may be much more suited for AI and what should remain firmly in human hands?
Thank you, Manju, for the question. I think, first of all, very well said by Mayank. I think the need of there is a need of collaboration between AI and the clinical development field, the clinical research field. I believe the AI has been very late to come into the clinical development compared to what AI has been used in different parts of the globe. Okay, the AI is being used at very high levels, at multiple things. Even if you say that the defense, wars, and IT programming everywhere, the AI is being used very nicely. But I feel for clinical development, AI is lagging behind, and probably this is because there is a hesitancy by the sponsors in using AI systems for the clinical trials. So we believe that even I was very skeptical. Why to have AI in the clinical development? But once I used it, I understood the potential that it can be used in the future. So I definitely believe that AI has a very strong future in the clinical development. Just it will take some time, because as we know, clinical development is not an easy task. It is a very intellectual thing, and multiple factors do affect the outcomes of the studies. So definitely AI has to be is to evolve in a very long way in terms of clinical development. But I feel that once it is there, it will be a fantastic time for clinical development.
Understood. Understood. You hit upon something that I was going to ask you next in terms of adoption, scale of adoption, as well as speed of adoption. But that also raises an important point, right? We are a very highly regulated industry, and we are very slow to change. We know that from many, many years now. Uh, how do you think all with these regulatory requirements and a very slow to react governing bodies, do you think adoption will be faster this time as compared to several of the technology adoptions in the previous years?
Sure. I this is a very nice question. So it depends on what regulatory authority you're interacting with. So if you are working with the US FDA, your EMA, they already have some guidelines on the US or use of AI in clinical trials. But if you're working on regulatory authorities in different countries where the AI is still being not accepted into the systems, it is very difficult to convince them. Okay, in our country, it's we still do not have a guideline on the use of AI in clinical trials. For that sake, the regulatory adoption of any new process, any new system, has been very late in in few countries, including ours. Just to give an example, use of electronic diary cards or electronic CRFs. Okay, so this has been there in the Western world for a long time. They are completely done with the paper CRFs and the things like this. But we are still doing duplicate things. We are having paper CRFs. We are having electronic CRFs. We are having still paper diary cards. We have not yet moved to the applications, diary card applications in the phones. We have not moved to electronic consent forms. So I think we are far away from the regulatory acceptance. But I think with the changing scenario, the main political commitment, probably things might change faster than we expected.
Understood, understood. And that's a very well said point in terms of how different governing bodies are reacting and adopting to AI. Mayank, your perspective on this?
To be honest, completely aligned, Dr. Anirudh. There's nothing different there. But just one pointer from a CRO perspective as I'm coming, because for us, this is where we bring the diversity in the conversation. And if you look into the portfolio globally, a majority of portfolio is still sitting in US and in Europe, where EMEA and FD have done actually amazing job to engage at a AI level. Some of their positioning on AI has been good. It's just that what I've understood through regulators is also, even in FD and EMEA, is that they want the CROs and the pharmas and the biotechs to come and have a conversation around it. And one request they have always done, you want to adopt AI is amazing. They are always supportive, but what they need is digital traceability of everything we do. So they are saying you can use it, but put the right guardrails in place to do that job. And I'm sure in future, the countries which have not gone on this route, who will adopt AI strategies, will also have the same regulation. So we, as a professionals in this industry, we have to make it very clear that everything we do with AI, first of all, call it as your digital team member and create the same kind of digital traceability as you would have done with a human, to be honest. And I think so, if that is covered, adoption will become simpler than what it looks today. And the biggest apprehension of losing the data traceability, data integrity issues, AI biasness can be cut down with these approach in future.
Understood. Just a quick thought and would like perspective on this one from both of you. Several of the AI product companies today talk about human in the loop or human-led AI, right? Would that address some of the concerns that the regulatory authorities would have, or would that still be considered as a bottleneck to the speed with which AI can um, conduct the tasks? Aniruddha, why don't you go ahead first?
Yeah. So I think that could be a good approach initially for the regulators to have AI acceptance. So currently we feel that AI can mainly come, as Mike really said, as a support team member for you while conducting the clinical trials. So rather than that the trial is being independently conducted by AI looks impossible. Okay, it is your team member, it is there for your support. So I think the regulatory wise, we really feel that this should not be an issue, because you're taking the help just like you are taking a member help from the employee, from your colleague, from your CRO. It is AI, something like that. It will come in future for the clinical development. For example, to give like writing protocol writing. So there are no guidelines or no controls that AI should not write the protocol. We can definitely take help of the AI for writing the protocol. Mainly issues will come when we use the AI for doing pattern analysis during the conduct of the study, and later on the statistical analysis also, because there are many issues in that. If it happens, it's really going to help. Just to give an example, recent example, live example, that we are one of the trials we are working on. We just found that there were more male participants are being enrolled instead of female participants. The proportion was there was disproportion. Now, if AI could read patterns, the AI could alert us, you need to recruit more females than the males. That is where exactly we need the AI. We want the AI to address the errors while we are doing the clinical trials. Okay, I think that is where the future of AI will lie. And we feel that the only thing is how the integrity is maintained during this process of pattern analysis. I think that is what the regulators will mainly ask. How did you maintain integrity? So I think that is a limitation that needs to be overcome with time.
Understood. Mayank, what do you think?
Oh, amazing point, Dr. Anuda. I think so. What you brought is a very good example. Let me build on this. So I don't even call this as human in loop, Manjunath. Manju, I call it as human intelligence. And I think so. The new world is all about collaboration between AI and HI. And this will be a very balancing act. You may have an artificial intelligence, but the same artificial intelligence without human intelligence is actually a liability in many cases, especially when you come to scientific acumen, for that matter. So, in my opinion, and the way I'm designing and industry is designing is very clear that future is a collaboration of AI and HI. Now, what you bring and where you bring in. So, for example, as Doctor was mentioning about the trends, yes, AI can definitely help you to find out the trends and do it. But if AI start telling you the results based on the trend to tell you exactly what where the study is moving, is a biasness actually, because the results are supposed to be analyzed holistically and may create a drift to your entire strategy to meet the results. Clinical trials are not conducted to meet the results. Clinical trials has to be transparently run to meet the primary and secondary objectives, to be honest, the endpoints. And that's where it should go. So it's a very thin line where a suggestion can become a biased opinion, and then you want to follow that opinion. So I think so. This is where the human intelligence comes into picture, which says that no, it stops here, and from here the human intelligence work. Also, a lot of people thought that AI may just end all the human roles and it will be all taken by AI, thanks to a lot of sci-fi movies which tells you that robots are taking over, which is good for movies. But in reality, the AI at present, what it is giving is more of an enablement today. Today, the AI adoption is not independent AI adoption. It is always coming with human intelligence to that. That's a reality. The piece to which AI we should be very mindful about is that in the regulated environment, everything is acceptable till it is becoming a biasness towards certain probability of results. And I think so that we have to keep in mind every time we do. For the people, it is important that you will only become redundant if you don't know how to work with AI. It's a very different concept. People will say, if AI is coming, I'm getting replaced. No, no. AI is coming and you have to start working with AI. You cannot survive if you're not upskilling yourself to adopt to AI ways of working. So, for example, if AI is giving an amazing pattern or a trend to you and you don't know how to read that pattern and trend, yes, there is a problem, because AI will go faster and faster to produce those kind of data and results and trends. You as a human intelligence have to start adopting it, to read it, do the right storytelling around it, and take it forward. So I think so for me, this is the era of human elevation in this field, because AI will take up some of that role which is more administrative, manual consumed, and long hours and long days to finish that task, versus faster turnaround time, accelerated one, more precise and high volume management, and then the human intelligence to take it to the more scientific uniqueness, data science uniqueness, and the storytelling.
Yeah, I think that is very well said. And if I can just succinctly summarize that, what you're basically saying, Mayank, is that AI will allow HI to do better work faster and let HI accomplish a lot more in a finite period of time rather than what it used to be correct today. Correct?
Correct, Manchu. And we at every organization and enterprise, we track these metrics and KPIs. And people ask me, what is the best metrics and KPI of the future? I said it is a metrics between AI and HI. Every enterprise will be measured based on what is the metrics between the balancing act of AI and HI. And organizations which will balance it in the best way will always win in future, because that's the model of the future to look into.
Understood. Understood. I think that's a great point. And then obviously, then that basically means that we probably will have to prioritize certain things, right? You know, like as you said earlier, that we should not consider AI to be a problem solver for everything. We should look at exactly what it can do. Having said that, if there is one major bottleneck today that you want to solve in clinical development, be it like document authoring to data management to statistics and analysis, or any other area, where would you do investment from a CRO perspective today? What is that one major bottleneck area that you would like to solve? Patient recruitment or document authoring, data management, or what would it be?
So I will put into three themes, Manju, and this three themes I'm saying, after reading in last 6 months in my role, reading different customer needs, requirement, problem statements. I think so. There are three problems which industry predominantly is facing, which can resolve by which I call quick fixes, where AI can actually play a vital role to fix them out. One is your documentation. Just pick up any clinical study and just see the amount of time spent by the workforce to do documentation, whether it is ETMF filing, archiving, just for managing the SOPs requirements, or being inspection readiness. I think so. That's one area where we spend a lot of administrative tasks, which should be done by AI. In my fair opinion, any organization, small or big, will benefit for it. The second piece is data. I think so. Whatever we are doing presently in clinical trials, the end result is data. What we take to regulators are data. There's nothing else. And it comes from different sources, different ways. And the data foundations are very poor today in a lot of organizations. Maybe some organizations have excellence in that, but most of the organizations are struggling, because obviously we try to respect the uniqueness of science, and we try to diversify the data so much. Like on an average, if you look into the data sizes now, it is in terabytes for every clinical study, which was not the case 10 years back. So the second piece is about data. How AI can fix my data foundation gaps instead of boiling the ocean and changing the entire data foundation landscape. Can AI come and play a role in doing that? And the third element I feel is about managing the sites where the enrollment happens, where the real patient happens. I think so. We have to give a better experience to both our investigators as well as patients. And I think so. That's a very key element for AI to start looking into it. That how you will simplify at the sites. Like just look into any clinical study outsourcing. Majority of the money goes for the site monitoring.
Yeah.
Why? Because there are so many manual efforts, there are so many administrative efforts where you are spending human hours to do that job, versus an AI can be a good assistant to do that job for it. Like you go, bank is a classic example, correct? Everyone thought 10 years back that you will not have a bank branch where you will go and visit, correct? No one thought about it. Everyone thought this is the permanent thing, this is always going to remember. Why? Because it's about money, very crucial part of human life, and it cannot change. I think the same is with the clinical trials. Everyone thinks patient going to site or investigator meeting patient face to face or everything happening at a particular site with all administrative hustle is going to be the future. I think so. COVID has taught us no, that's not the future. Future may be slightly different than what it looks today. So, in my opinion, that's the other piece where we can actually implement AI and see real value, not only in terms of cost saving or head counts, but also real benefit to accelerate the trials, because most of the pharma companies are saying, I don't want to spend 12 years in developing a molecule, correct? I want
Hmm.
maybe not 10 years or 11
Yeah,
years or 9 years. From where you help them with this? I think so. These are
yeah,
three high level theme I will focus, and I think the industry is focusing on.
understood. Aniruddha, your perspective and Serum's perspective probably as a sponsor.
Yeah, so yeah, I think Mayank said very well. I think we need to save the human hours. Okay, so that is very important. We are spending a lot of time on documentation. Okay, so writing a protocol takes 3 months. Just to give an example, after that you have about 50 plans and manuals. Okay, so everything is if you see, even after getting an approval, completing the protocol, you still have a lead time about of 4 to 5 months to start a study. If we can bring down that with AI, that is where we will save a lot of time and resources, and that is where what the sponsor expectations are. Sponsor expects to save the time. Okay, because eventually time is money. You are paying the CRO every month cost. Okay, and if that time comes down to 1 month, I think the sponsor is going to make a lot of savings. Okay, so generally the plans and manuals, whatever they are very generic, only need to be very selective with respect to the protocols. So that is where the AI can come into the picture, and save on documentation. They are there again. What we feel is another part where AI can help. The CROAs can help is to cut down on the human hours at the site. Okay, in future, hope that the consent process also becomes, instead of one physician taking the consent, screening a lot of people, consent can be taken by the AI. You never know. It will be so wonderful that somebody's talking to the AI. What are the benefits of participating in the study? What to do adverse? What side effects are there of this product? If the AI does it, you will be saving human hours. Your consent takes about
Absolutely.
40 minutes, about 30 to 40 minutes at the site. The investigator can do some better job in that particular time. You can recruit more participants in a short while. Okay, another thing, what we saw, we have actually seen is the use of AI in data cleaning. Now,
Hmm.
the data cleaning typically for us it takes about 2 to 2.5 months after the last participant is recruited. The latest we have seen that the data was cleaned in 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and the data was analyzed in 1 week, another 1 week, so 3 weeks. So generally, when you have data cleaning of 2.5 months and statistical analysis for 1 more month, you are saving about 3 to 4 months after the AI is working. Just that it needs to be validated, and it needs to be foolproofed. Probably we can bring down to trial completion time by almost 50% from what we are doing. I think that is where AI is very interesting, and AI will actually be used later in clinical trials, and we see that almost every sponsor will be going for the AI. Okay, AI based. The only challenge, what we believe is, now if every CRO comes with a different AI, it's going to be confusing for us. Okay, we don't know whether to you go with Gemini. We don't know whether to go with the Chat GPT. We don't know. I think another two or three. We want to go with one. Okay, so it is always good to have Microsoft Windows on all laptops. It's easier. The moment you have a MacBook,
Very
it becomes
standardized.
difficult to even type. That is where we will be facing a big challenge with the AIs from the multiple companies, and we know that multiple companies are working on the AI. They are coming to us, and every AI is different. Okay, we want to go with the AI we are knowledgeable, and which is easy to use. So probably the first ones there will be the last ones to remain there. So that is what we believe.
No, that is very well said. The first ones being there would be the last ones remaining. AI comes with its own challenges also, and adoption will also be a challenge. I'm looking at some of the audience questions over here. I think we just answered, will AI eventually become a standard capability or competitive differentiator? I think that is very clear to that. But another relevant question over here, then, for both of you, is that What skills should clinical research professionals develop today to thrive in an AI-enabled future? Clearly, new skill sets are required, even if you are somebody who's not very technologically advanced, but you need to develop some of the skill sets. What do you think, Mayank? Let me start with that.
So, first thing, let's take out this entire perception that you have to become an AI engineer. Definitely no. Not everyone has to become an AI engineer. There are roles which will do the AI engineering work, which is perfectly fine. I think so. As a majority of the clinical research organizations and the industry you see, almost 90% teams are non-technical. Actually, they are the teams who are working on business side, who are not programming or who are not developing. I think so. For them, the major skill they need to learn is how to use that product very clearly. And it starts from your personal life. You can use a chat GPT on your phone, Gemini, just to see the favor because it's all about prompts. The way you prompt, the same way AI behaves to you. So if you give a garbage, you get a garbage. You give something gold, you get a gold out of it. And I think so. This is where people have to be learning that what are those right prompts to ask. So be curious in asking right questions, and that may help you. The other piece is because AI is working fast, so what is happening? The work which a human will take 3 days, for example, if I have to do a data collection on a study, I take 3 days, build those dashboards, and then I do my storytelling piece on that. Versus you give it to AI, in next 7 minutes, your entire story is start. Are you ready in those 7 minutes to tell your story to a customer or to your stakeholder or your management? Correct. So the storytelling is going to become another key piece where you understand the way data is behaving. There's a very nice saying in the data world that in data world we say that everyone knows data, but they really don't know data. That's a reality. Because you see numbers on the Excel sheet and everyone feels that they know what it is written. But the storytelling on that data is a very different ball game. And it is for the scientist equally, to the non-scientific community, to the operations community. When you see data, how you interpret that data is very important. And AI is going to do things fast, so you have to become faster to adopt to it, to take it. And last but not the least is that every time you will use AI, there is a change in the behavior and you run the process, to be honest. You have to be very cognitive about it. As a human behavior, this is the worst thing we do. We want latest technology, but we want to do it in old ways. And I think so that's the biggest gap in any adoption for that matter. My
Yeah.
request to everyone in this fraternity is that when you're using a new technology, also look into the new ways of working along with that. So don't try to keep the same old process re-engineering and try to do work with the AI in the future world. So I think so these are some very simple but very impactful skills what people have to develop over the period of time to adopt to this.
Understood. Understood. Aniruddha, any comments on that particular thing?
Yeah, I think Mayank said it really well. You need to know how the system works, how the product works. So if you're not able to give a proper prompt to the system, it will not give you the correct output. The challenge is that the prompt changes even with the letter A or letter B. Then one letter is going to give you a different output. So that is where the AI is still learning, and that is where we need to first develop the AI that it understands what is the background noise and what is the front person expecting. This is similar to what is happening in our offices. We are telling a colleague a plus b is equal to c, but in his brain it is c. It is still a plus b equal to d. Okay, so that is where the clarification needs to come, and you need to simplify to the system what you're expecting. It is just like you are teaching a fresher what your expectations are, but a fresher may take a lot of time to learn. AI probably learns very fast. Okay, that is
Agreed.
where the
Agreed.
advantage is, and probably AI will be helpful in that aspect. So only thing is you need to learn the system, you need to understand how to run the system. That is where, when I say when the systems are different, it becomes difficult. When there's only one system you need to learn, it's very easy for us.
Understood. Understood. I think that's very well said also, but that also raises a quite an important topic also, dwelling slightly deeper into that. What we talked about so far was generative AI, right? Where you use LLMs to and prompt engineering to create documents or generate outputs, etc. However, the next step of that is agentic AI, where AI actually does the work itself and then task another AI to do either quality review or to go do another task based on the outcome that is produced by the previous agent. Uh, That impact obviously is being now seen in data management or some of the other tasks as well. And as we progress using more AI for more basic, fundamental, repeatable tasks, I think the impact is going to be even bigger. With that, I think uh, with the resource constraints, with the budget constraints, and the time constraints, we're pretty sure now that AI can help with all three of them. But every organization has limited capacity, right? Even to adopt as well as to invest. Uh, if you want to give this audience one advice in terms of where they should be focusing their energies on, what would that be? We'll start with you, Anirudh.
Yeah. So, what I would suggest is to get more and more exposure to AI systems. So that is what we have seen in the new clinical research professionals as well. They know all the technical terms related to AI compared to us. So we are old generation clinical researchers, as you can call. It is taking us some time to to get used to the terms like hallucinations, LLMs, NLPs. We are still searching the full forms for this, but the newer generations, they're already into this. So I think they are going into the right way, and probably the AI is also coming into the medical books as well on what you need to know about AI as a part of medical uh, curriculum. So I think with time, definitely it will be included, and just get used to more and more exposure. Just don't be on chat gpt, go on every platform you can use. You understand what are the limitations. So a co-pilot, what are the limitations of the co-pilot, what are the limitations of chat gpt. That will help you understand which is a great system, and then you streamline to and come down to one system that you will be comfortable enough to use. So I think that is where we should try to focus on getting acknowledged with different systems.
Understood. Mayank?
Yeah. So in my opinion, don't build your AI strategy and try to fit the problem statement to that. First, build your problem statements clearly and statements which are pragmatic. So, for example, if you want to solve a very operational problem statement which are very limited use, developing a full AI agent strategy will not even work there because your cost may just go skyrocket. So, in my opinion, the first thing you should do is that define the problem. Once you define the problem, then you go into solutioning mode and design a solution if it includes AI to fit into it. And then fit it. I think so that's the very natural way of doing it. What is happening in the industry because AI became such a buzzword in every boardroom that there was a top to bottom direction to use AI. And many leaders like us, we jumped on it. Let's put AI everywhere without even understanding what it is trying to solve. So the best way of doing is to have a problem statement. Second piece is always look into return of investment of that implementation. Now you cannot put up AI on a work which only cost you some few hundred thousand and you put a multi-million dollar agent strategy. Or you put an agent which don't talk to any other agent in the company, so the multi-agent strategy fails completely, and you may be in a silo, which can create more work or more redundancy in the organization. And
Yep.
the third element, which I want to address here, someone has asked that very nicely, that with all these AI models, our data can get breached and everything. Always look for right guardrails with the partners you're working. Make sure that AI agent strategy is within your ecosystem. So it supports within your ecosystem. And if it is outside your ecosystem, you have a very robust audit around the AI implementation. That will safeguard you to not only lose your data, what you say, accountability and ownership, but also that's a very right way to work in the growing world of AI. But because you are right, if your patient data goes out and someone has not done all these steps right, it will put your company reputation and the patient data at a stake, which is the last thing we should be doing in any ways.
Yeah, agreed. And I think another question over there is that is AI being used in molecular and formulation development? The answer is obviously yes. And then
Yes.
that's why data privacy and data security becomes so important, right? I can tell you from my personal experience that just recently, one of the sponsors in India went through an exhaustive AI security and vulnerability review of our products. And, thankfully, we passed all of them. But that is true. Organizations are seriously concerned about data security and data privacy, and anyone who's developing AI agents or AI products will need to make sure that these considerations are take a priority in their architecture decisions. Quick question, another audience question over here. As we move from human driven processes to AI augmented and agentic ways of working, what human capabilities will become more valuable, and how should clinical development teams prepare for that shift? That's a very good question. Mayank, you want to take that first?
Yeah, so I think so. Some of this we had already answered, but the as I said, the human capabilities is all about using the AI in the real sense. Using AI for fun is very different than versus using on the work. So, you as an individual, when you're using AI, can you come and tell a story to your leadership to say, with AI, you are gaining 20% efficiency in your day-to-day work or not? I give a very simple example of myself. My email writing has reduced almost by 70-80% now because my copilot helps me to write email. It has took some time to understand the way I write, my style, also bringing my style more diplomatic. So it was all about learning curve. So your learning agility has to be high with these, and you should share that with others to influence. To be honest, that's one piece. The second piece is that when you look into data from AI, there's always a caution, because whenever you generate anything from AI, you should always be very, very cognitive of understanding what is written on your slides, on your documents, Word documents, PDF documents, Excel sheets, because you had given prompt on which AI has acted. But there is always a human intelligence to check to understand the rationalization. I think so. That level of review we still don't do, and we are not equipped. We have to learn that kind of review where we challenge AI on certain things. This is where our intellectual goes high, because we challenge the AI after even giving the prompts on multiple occasions. Now, some people can say it may slow down the process. This is not slowing down the process. This is doing the right thing in the first instance. So people have to learn that way, that it's not every time slowing down means it is slowing down for a bad reason. It is for a good reason, because you first time you're right. You don't have to do rework on it. Versus you go to a data, you go with a presentation which has a lot of input to give come from stakeholders. You will spend more time in fixing it than getting it right at one first instance. And last but not the least is look for multi-agent working. How you will make sure that two agents are interacting, and when two agents are interacting and bringing an output to you, how you will read that output for further uses of that. So I think so. Those are some of the other things which people have to look into.
Absolutely. Aniruddha, your comments?
Yeah, I think the one concern I have with the using AI from the CROs is basically the learning. Okay, so AI learns, right? If I am the sponsor A, so the CRO AI is going to learn from me, and the learnings from whatever the suggestions, the developments, what we do, it's going to apply for sponsor B. So if the sponsor A is not comfortable, how we use that learnings, the learnings should be not be used for any other sponsor. It may be a competitor sponsor. So there are some concerns about the learnings, what we generally
Yeah.
know in the real world as intellectual property. Okay, because some of the for our clinical trials we have developed completely internal processes which are very efficient. We have completely driven out some of the systems, electronic systems we have completely done away with, and which have been we have developed systems which are very easier to use and very cheap. So probably the AI learns from us and applies the same to the competitor, which we are not very comfortable at all. Something that is related to the data privacy, or I don't know what you call it in the AI world. So that is the only one concern that I have. Again, as another thing that I would like to raise is that your AI learns on what database it has. Okay, so let's say for example a CRO has a database of 200 trials, another CRO has a database of 5,000 trials. Obviously, the AI is going to be different. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we don't want to have the to run into these kind of challenges later on, which AI is better, and we don't want our trials to be, or our data to be used for other sponsors purposes by the CROs. Also, the AI needs to access public databases, but we know the AI is not actually accessing only public databases, it's also accessing the private databases. So there is no thin line, and I don't know how the AI is working on that. So till now we do not have any breach issues, but probably in future when AI becomes is more rampantly used, probably these issues are going to come up.
Yeah,
I think that
and
is very well
and
said.
and
Yeah, go
Manju,
ahead,
I
man.
think so. One thing I'll tell doctor that whenever any CRO comes and tells you that they have a fully matured AI, never use that AI. Let me be honest with you, because no one has a fully matured AI because no CRO owns data. Let's be honest about it. The data is sponsors proprietary, which they're using it. You should always look into CRO who have their own synthetic data generators, because that's the only way to get your algorithms mature before it gets to production. And any CRO says that I have matured with customers without taking any consent is a concern, which is the right concern to have it, because that's not the way to do maturity of any AI across the world.
Absolutely correct. And that's why reading the contracts that you have with the CROs becomes very important in terms of who owns the data, what use that data is being put to, and whether you allow AI or anyone else to use that intelligence at all. I think that's a great way and a great point and a great segue into a next webinar that we may do in terms of the data security, data privacy, and how we should AI should be adopting to all that. I Thank you very much. Great talking to both of you, and I'm pretty sure our audience also learned a few things from here. Any closing words and comments, Aniruddha, from your side?
Yeah, I think the only closing remarks is I have that AI is the future of clinical development. I think in the next 4 or 5 years, it's going to be fantastic to do clinical development, at least in our country. I can definitely say that, where we have got very limited sources, very limited skilled resources. I think AI will play an important role on the quality of data that we will be generating in our country.
That is fantastic. And Mayank?
I think so. AI is the future way of doing things. I don't know for how long. Maybe there is something else waiting for us and knocking our doors. But at least I can see clearly for next 3 to 5 years, it is the things to do. Don't be scared of AI. Try to be on that journey to learn and evolve, and always make sure that AI is used in most ethical way to maintain the data integrity. If that is missed out somewhere, you will lose the trust in any way you're implementing AI.
Absolutely. And I will end that. Please do not put your private organization data onto ChatGPT
Yeah,
or Claude or Gemini or Copilot without having an enterprise edition that can protect your data.
yeah.
Thank you very much, both of you, for your time and the audience for joining today. Look forward to seeing you in future webinars. Thanks
Thank
all.
you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.